Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode, and I'm absolutely thrilled today to have with me Jen Hardy and Irina Alexander. Ladies, welcome back.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much.
So this is going to be a short series that I ask you all to do because I really wanted to take a little bit deeper dive into what you guys do, how you do it, and really how you bring help to a lot of folks who may need it in high stress industries, high stress jobs, and just stress. So with that, Irina, maybe I could ask you to start off, what's the cost with showing up strong every day? And when no one really sees what it takes behind the scenes. And let me just add, I did a podcast yesterday where we threw in the male category. Is this limited to males or does this impact women just as much?
The cost is high and nobody immune to it. Either you're male or female, the cost of high pressure through the different type of jobs is extremely high. Because when you're the strong one, doesn't matter what you do. A lot of people assume by default that you're okay. So nobody's even asking, how are you doing? And if you're doing okay. And a lot of times, because of the high pressure, you do everything for everybody else and neglecting your own needs. So you're putting yourself last. And also, you start identifying yourself with what you do and not who you are. So those are one of the few things that actually cost a lot. And they are in every area of life, not just work.
Why do you say that strength without sustainability is a liability and not the badge of honor that, at least in the male world, we all tend to wear?
Yes, because it's promoted by society. The more you work, the better you are, and the hustle culture and all of that. But in reality, at least what we believe is to work smart, not hard, to invest in yourself and learn how to regulate your nervous system, because that pressure you put on yourself to always be on turns into liability, and it actually is very heavy weight. And that's why we say that it's not a badge of honor, but actually liability.
You used a phrase in there that I've never heard really associated with high stress jobs, and that's the hustle culture. I had thought we were going to talk about firefighters, policemen, maybe other first responders, but you use hustle culture. How can all of this happen to someone who's in an industry or a vertical that we may not think of as high stress, or at least not the kind of stress that a first responder feels?
Who should go?
You're the one that used the phrase.
Okay. Because I see in Jen's eyes that she has a lot to say. Because it's universal. It's the overall the society norm, and we all live in the world, in a country, in the generation where hustle culture is the more I work, the better I am. Look at me. I'm working 24/7. How many people promote themselves that they're available 24/7? When first responders are on duty and it's their responsibility and job to be on call during certain crazy hours, that is a choice that they're making when they start this job. But when you are a realtor or any other high pressure profession, you're doing it to yourself, for yourself, because you think that's what makes you different, that's what makes you unique, and that's what people need. Putting their needs before your own and thinking that's what will win the race, so to speak.
Jen, let me turn to you because I know you've been a teacher and I know you've been a coach. And typically people may not think of those as high stress jobs, but I want to use that as an entree to ask, why don't we talk about this enough? And how do we help communicate what's really okay to talk about this? Is it in the state bar, we have lawyers in recovery that we take up recovery issues. Is it that kind of conversation to say, yes, it's okay to say I have a problem. Yes, it's okay to say I need help. Or how do you even get that dialogue going?
I would say the first thing we've got to do is deal with a lot of the belief systems around it. Irina just really pointed to a cultural problem, a cultural issue of hustle being this thing, do more, my value is equal in what I do. And when that already exists, then it's kind of impossible for there not to be this experience of shame or this experience of guilt that we don't talk about. And I don't think we talk about it because people don't even realize that they're experiencing shame and guilt around, I'm not doing enough. I should be doing more, because that's what we're told. I'm supposed to do more. I'm supposed to do more. Not to mention, I'm more valuable if I'm doing more, right? As we just mentioned, it's a badge of honor. But the reality is, when we think, not even before we start doing, we start thinking about doing less, there's this sense of shame and guilt of, oh, but other people have it easier, or but I should be doing more, and it's not okay to rest and take it. And we wait until our body knocks us out to be okay with taking rest instead of preemptively considering it.
You have been an athlete at what I consider a high level. And certainly, I would guess at some point in your career, you played with pain and you probably played through pain. And that's seen as being tough. Is that the kind of the toughness that we perceive in athletes that allow them to play through pain? Does that actually help or hurt this discussion?
It's an interesting metaphor because we are taught to play through the pain, and that is toughness, right? But if you look at today's athlete, even, let's stick with that metaphor. The athletes, the Tom Bradys and the LeBron James of the world, they are in their 40s and they're making it into professional sports still. And why? Why are they making it into professional sports that long and still being that successful? Because they're prioritizing rest. They're prioritizing recovery. They're prioritizing their mental and emotional health. So even for someone at the highest level of literal physical and emotional performance, they're fine that if I don't recover, if I don't rest, if I don't feed myself well, if I don't sleep right, if I don't talk to someone, if I don't get this stuff out of my head, I'm not going to be able to perform at the level that's expected of me, but also to be who I desire to be for my family, for my humans, for my people. So I think it's a beautiful way to pull that metaphor in for all of us who are in these high stress professions that think that we've got to keep overperforming to get to where we want to go, when actually backing off, doing less, and recovering is going to get you there much quicker and also much more joy.
And you touched on that the effects are not just emotional, they can be physical as well. And I think most people would say they had a breakdown. Whatever caused it, they did too much of it. Their body revolted. But there's a series of different health breakdowns that can occur. Hormonal dysfunction, autoimmune disorders, mental health spirals. Could you say a few words about all of those that might lead to a full breakdown?
Absolutely. I can actually speak to them personally. Recently, there have been a lot of interesting developments for Irina and I in our careers and us getting this program off the ground. And to say it's not stressful would be an understatement. And the stress levels, the financial strain, the struggle to be accepted into areas that are looking at us like, you're two attractive women. What the heck do you know about being in this place? There are things that are constantly being thrown on. We have skills, we have tools, and we can still get sucked into the vortex of stress. And it took me talking to my functional medicine doctor recently and telling him how bad my knees hurt, how bad my elbows and my back and my ankles were just aching in ways that I haven't experienced in over a year now, that I'm bloated in ways that made no sense because I work out, like you said, I'm pretty athletic, I stay fit, I eat well, I've got my hormones under control, I've got my organs functioning well. There's no reason I shouldn't be feeling good. I'm not sleeping well, I'm waking up in the middle of the night again. And he just asks me some really straightforward questions about the stress in my life currently. And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty high right now. And he's, yeah, you're on adrenal fatigue and cortisol overload. And they're destroying your joints, your sleep, and how you're feeling. And that's on a pretty basic level for what I think is most humanity. Like most humans probably are like, oh, my back hurts, my knees hurt. That's just normal. It's not normal. We're not supposed to be in physical pain all the time. There's something else speaking to us, and are we slowing down long enough to find out what it is?
Irina, I'm in a program that basically says you can't get help until you are ready. And it doesn't matter how many interventions people might do. It doesn't matter how many people talk to you about whatever that issue is. But until you're ready to resolve that issue, you can't start a successful program. How do you have that conversation? Do you have it with someone's manager? Do you have it with senior management? Do they put you in front of a group of mid-level managers and to talk about stress? How do you really have the conversation with people that there are tools out there and they're available for your use?
That's beautifully said, because I agree with you. And I also believe that the person has to be ready. But the question is, do they even know what ready is for them? How do you know that you're ready? How do you know that you're not ready? So we ask all of those questions and absolutely look for support from the upper management and leadership, because it all starts from the top. And we had a beautiful example not too long ago when we went to Bear County and housed I don't know exactly the title, lieutenant, when we were mentioning our program, how she stood up in front of everybody and without even knowing our program, spoke so highly of the importance of managing stress and going through the programs and learning mental resiliency, emotional resiliency, and so on. So it absolutely matters what is the leadership and upper management does, and also are they doing it or are they just talking about it and saying it? Are you being led or are you leading by example?
Is there a way for people who are ready or at least are open to the conversation to start engaging in what I'm going to call proactive care, that they can start doing things now that may stop a downward spiral or may keep them in a healthy mental, physical, emotion, and even spiritual state?
Absolutely. First step is being ready and acknowledgement, right? You can't change it if you don't know what's happening. So awareness is one of the key pillars of the program, is to be aware of what's happening and then pause and giving yourself a break to pull back and realize what's happening. Because a lot of times we have a trigger and we have a response. And we all been in a situation where we said and acted certain way. And as soon as you've done that, or as soon as I've done that, I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, or I probably shouldn't have behaved certain way, but it's already too late. The words just roll out of my tongue and it's already there and it's too late. So awareness and pausing, and even if it's a split second, gives you that break to make a decision. What's going to happen next? What are you going to say? How are you going to react? And this would be the first step. And also being proactive, like Jen mentioned, a lot of things as of eating, exercising, the basics. Things are simple, but they're not easy for a lot of people.
Jen, I grew up in a different era of athletics, and maybe not so different than yours, but I played football and basketball and ran track and all that jazz. And those trite phrases I learned, like when the going gets tough, the tough get going, or winners never quit and quitters never win. I think I've gotten rid of those. But the one thing I've never gotten rid of is I wasn't the best, but I could outwork anybody. And whatever success I had, I attributed to I just outworked everyone. And that has served me pretty well in business over the years. But, you know, it led to the inevitable breakdown. So how do you have that conversation with someone not who's been trained, maybe like you and I were as athletes, but had success incorporating some of the skills we learned literally as teenagers and took them into adulthood where they didn't serve us as well?
First of all, yes, it's a beautiful point to bring up, because how many belief systems, stories, thoughts, things that we think we believe or don't even know we believe, that were kind of integrated into us, that it's, do I actually believe that? Did I ever choose that? Am I just doing it to do it? And I think that's where it has to start, is you have to start asking yourself some questions. If you're not in a program, like you said, you mentioned you're in a program, or if you're not working with a coach, or if you're not even like starting to read books, like how can you start asking yourself questions about these current belief systems and thought patterns that are moving you forward? Because if you hadn't said, I eventually broke down, I would have asked you, were those patterns really a problem? Like, how were they a problem? But you did say, I eventually led into burnout, because sometimes they are serving us. Sometimes they are getting us where we need to go. And I do want to make sure that's acknowledged. Not everything is a problem. I had a woman come to me and she's like, my friends are telling me, and I can't remember what it was, but my friends are telling me blank and blank. And I'm like, okay, do you think it's a problem? And she's like, no, I don't really think it's a problem. I'm still this and I'm still that, and things are good and I'm healthy. And she had nothing but positive answers. And I'm like, okay. And they're saying this, is it a problem? She's like, but they're saying it's a problem. I'm like, I get that they're saying a problem, but is it a problem? How is it a problem? And she could not come up with the reason it was. So sometimes it's not. And sometimes we do need to dismantle and consider, when did I decide this? Or was this basically projected onto me as a belief system that I took on? Is it still serving me? If it is, how and how not? Is it working? Are there elements of it that I need to shift or change? Or do I need to work on letting this go altogether? My big one was, be so valuable they can't let you go. And that was a really powerful thing to be told to me by my father, and I appreciated it at the time. And it kicked a little young part of me that'd been trying to prove herself into hyperdrive, to where it was like yes to everything. So it's just a recognition of, for me, I don't do well with 18 things on my plate, but I know people who actually thrive when they have 18 things they love on their plate. So it's not a one size fits all situation.
So we're coming near the end, but I'm going to have a question for each of you, and it's basically, you get to say one thing. And I'm going to keep with you, Jen, and that question to you is, if someone is silently struggling, what's the one thing either they need to hear or perhaps you would tell them?
I would probably tell them some of the things that I needed to hear or that I've told others, and that is, you're not bad, you're not broken, you're not a burden, you're not a failure or weak, and you don't have to justify needing help. Like, you're just human. There is no shame in feeling the way you feel and struggling the way you may be struggling, and you don't have to keep doing it alone. Right? There is no shame in that struggle, but there is so much danger in keeping that silence.
And Irina, I left the big one for you. And that is, in one sentence, although maybe a little bit more, what is CARES, and why is it a different standard of resilience training that we literally have all heard before?
All right. CARES is, most importantly, it's practical, tactical, neuroscience-based framework that helps high-stress professionals. It helps in self-awareness, emotional regulation, and communication skills. Without blame, like Jen mentioned, without shame. We're going to give you practical tools. You can walk away the same day and start applying and seeing real results in real life.
All right. Well, ladies, we are now at the end of this episode, but I'm going to take the call to action because I want everyone who heard this to take a moment to check in with yourself. The one thing that you've been carrying, maybe you don't have to carry it alone. And I will tell you from personal experience, you don't, period. But if this conversation hits home, I hope you'll keep listening, because next episode, in episode 2, Irina's going to walk us through the patterns we miss, the stories we carry, and the daily shifts that keep us from burnout before it breaks. I cannot wait to continue this conversation.